Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Black Logic. So I know you guys are familiar with the American Airlines flight as well as the Army helicopter crashing. And within a week, we've had a second airplane to crash. So in Philadelphia, a medical transport jet identified as a Learjet 55 tragically crashed near the Roosevelt Mall, resulting in the loss of 7 lives, including a very young child. Now, this particular aircraft had just departed from the Northeast Philadelphia airport en route to Missouri when it encountered difficulties shortly after taking off, and witnesses reported seeing the plane lose altitude rapidly before crashing into a very populated area near the mall. Now, the impact caused a very mass explosion, setting nearby vehicles and other structures ablaze. A lot of the things around it, because of the jet fuel, essentially was on fire. And among the victims, there were the pediatric patient, her mother, 2 pilots, and 2 medical crew members, because this was an air ambulance, so to speak. And additionally, one individual on the ground was fatally injured when the plane struck their vehicle. So someone inside their car, actually was injured and killed as well. And emergency responders rushed to the scene, and they were going through and battling with the fires from the jet fuel and adjacent vehicles that were caught on fire. And they attended the injuries, at least 19 people. 19 people essentially sustained injuries from essentially a plane falling out the sky. A lot from burns to smoke inhalation. Now, the NTSB, known as the National Transportation Safety Board, in collaboration with the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, has launched a comprehensive investigation to determine the cause of this tragic accident. And a lot of people around the internet has been trying to connect the American Airlines flight incident with the helicopter with this particular flight. First of all, it's way too soon to conclude to that, to try to connect the two. These are not connected, in my opinion, at all. And I don't think people should really be listening to that particular rhetoric in the first place. Okay. Now, if we look at the economics front of America at the current moment, President Trump has announced the immediate impositions of tariffs on imports from Canada, Mexico, and China. And this decision is a very pivotal shift in U.S. trade policy that we look at how is it garnered worldwide. Because effective today, the U.S. will levy a 25% tariffs on goods imported from Canada and Mexico, and a 10% tariff on products from China. Now, essentially, he's decreased the amount of number from China, because at one point in time, he was stating China will also get 25% tariffs. So who knows what those talks came to be, information that was revealed. But the administration cites certain concerns over illegal immigration, fentanyl trafficking, and longstanding trade imbalances, because he's always touted that America has never been given a fair deal when we're in international trade, especially with China. But again, a lot of people on both sides of the political spectrum, they argue that these tariffs could be increased consumer prices and potentially retaliatory actions from these effective nations who he is raising the tariffs on. Both Canada and Mexico have already signaled intentions to implement countermeasures if the tariffs proceed. And some of the economists warn that such actions may disrupt global supply chains and strain diplomatic relations. But again, the Donald Trump administration maintains that these steps are necessary to protect national interests and promote fair trade practices. And to his point, there was a time in America where there was no income tax, okay? Before the world wars, there was no income tax. And America had large tariff tax on trading nations. And that is what he's returning America to. Because he's really trying to stop income tax. Did you guys hear about, he did a news briefing. He talked about a lot of things, but he also thought about wiping away the income tax. But he said we have to in place these very reasonable and fair tariffs on these countries. He's been taking advantage of America. So again, when I look at it, The only way this would be a bad thing if the economists are right, if some of the critics are right, and consumer prices start to rise. Now, we already understand why egg prices, even to the point of why gas prices right now are volatile, because that's what his new policy of drill, baby, drill, release some of the oil reserves until we can really crank how many barrel oils we need a day. So again, he's taking certain measures to lower the prices, but I wonder how significant it would be when we start to buy products that are imported to America and we have 10 to 25% imposed tariffs on them. I just would like to know. I think it'd be interesting. Now, I don't know if you guys are aware that in Palestine, Israel, this new development has emerged in the ongoing conflict between Israel and Hamas. Now, in a landmark prisoner exchange, Hamas has released 3 Israeli hostages, while Israel has freed 183 Palestinian prisoners. I just was very confused about this. I want you guys to read this again because, again, Israel is at a ceasefire with Hamas. They're not at war with the country of Palestine. So Hamas released 3 Israeli hostages, but Israel released 183 Palestinian prisoners. The reason why I say it is because they haven't released any Hamas members. So does Israel have a large number of Palestinians in jail? They're not related to the terrorist group, the jihadist group, the Hamas fighters. Again, I'm just asking these questions because it's just, again, the wording that they're using. Palestinian prisoners, not Hamas prisoners. Again, I just thought that was interesting because this is still going on, by the way. They're at a ceasefire. But this particular exchange agreement was brokered with the assistance of the United States, Egypt, and Qatar. And this deal that they made was aimed or is aimed to de-escalate, the tensions between these two countries. So hopefully this works. Hopefully this helps. Now, and again, just kind of reviewing how this accident even occurred. Both black boxes supposedly have been retrieved. So there will be more information coming out, not only about the victims that you see here, but as well, how did this accident happen? I was reading all sorts of things when it comes to how this accident essentially happened. Was the plane taken off and the Chinook 47 was seemed to be a Chinook 47 fly in the real turbine of the aircraft? Then they were stating that the air traffic controllers were overwhelmed, that they're understaffed. Did you guys know all of this information? And even also another piece of information, I'm kind of giving you bits and pieces here. 2 minutes before the crash, the air traffic controller tried to contact the aircrafts and at least warn them at least twice. So again, you have an air traffic controller who is overwhelmed, okay, and they're understaffed, but he's still giving them what seems to be a significant amount of time, 2 minutes, to change course or to use, some sort of covert actions in order to avoid the plane, which is a much larger, aircraft. But essentially, again, someone is going to try to find the blame. And let me jump ahead very quickly because not that we're going to single out any of the victims, but again, there's been a lot of rhetoric that's come out. Okay. And this shouldn't come out against any community. They were stating that the pilot of the Black Hawk helicopter that got into the Potomac River crash with the American Airlines aircraft, that it was a transgender woman named Jo Ellis. And just to let everyone know, that is absolutely false. How's that significant? I have no idea. I don't believe that the sensationalized of minority groups, if that's what they want to call them, in order to fit a certain narrative and perspective. But nonetheless, I thank you guys for joining me here this evening. You guys have a great and wonderful evening. This is Black Logic.